radiation monitoring equipment so that he can confirm their findings. There is no room for error. Communist Russia and the capitalist West are engaged in a global power struggle. The Cold War is threatening to turn decidedly hot. But Perrin has a problem. He knows the man he needs to call. He also knows there is no way he can call him. Nancy Thorndike Greenspan is author of the biography Atomic Spy, The Dark Lives of Klaus Fuchs.
Only 4 days previously, on September 6th of 1949, Michael Perrin had had other bad news.
Britain's intelligence agency, MI5, have recently...
The Conservative Party serving its members. Because this is not about petty politics. This is not some sort of a game. This isn't just some sort of knife fight in a phone box. This is a battle of ideas that is actually going to determine the future of our country. And whoever we choose as leader of the Conservative Party is going to have to get up in front of you guys at some point in the next 2 years and make these arguments to the country. Because anybody who's hiding from you guys today can't possibly argue that they can make the argument to the country in 2 years' time. Nobody is hiding. Anybody who is. Anybody who is.
I think you've got someone in mind.
Anybody. No, I don't have anybody in mind. No. Everybody's done a launch. Come on, you know that. Everybody's done a launch.
Tom, can I ask you about money?
Yeah.
You're pledging 3% of GDP for defence.
Yeah.
You're pledging to reverse the national insurance cut.
Yeah.
Rise, sorry. You're pledging to take 10p off fuel duty. All of this is going to cost money. Can you level with voters about what you're going to spend less on?
So I can absolutely level with voters on what we're going to do about it. What we're going to do is we're going to have a 10-year plan for growth. And what we're setting out over the coming days and weeks is we're going to be looking at exactly how that works. Because the key is that this isn't a simple exercise about 1 day or 1 year or one, or just one area. This is about the whole country. This is about levelling up, about balancing, if you like, over time, over space, over generations, over communities. Because unless you do that, you get an unfair tax system. You get a tax system that hurts some and rewards others. And what we need to do is we need to look again. We need to make sure that what we get is a tax system that actually delivers for the whole country. And that means lower taxes, of course it does, but it also means simpler and more predictable taxes.
Talking about more spending on defence, where does the money come from?
You're going to be hearing more about that in coming days.
Do you think your colleagues will want to hear that before they vote this afternoon?
Are you going to get the coming days?
Absolutely. You're going to hear about that in coming days.
And are you definitely going to get through to
Absolutely. Not a shadow of a doubt.
Tom, so you're saying that you're not...
Forgive me, I've got to run. I've got another one or two. I've got 1 or 2 people to talk to. You'll understand. It's really nice to see you.
Well, there you go. That was the Conservative leadership hopeful Tom Tugendhat. We're now going to go back to the end of my interview with Dr. Stefan Hartung, the global chief executive of Bosch, one of the world's biggest manufacturing companies. I'd asked him about the euro hitting parity with the US dollar, and here was his response.
The euro going to parity is a signal. And we have to take that signal very serious. And you see the same signals, by the way, in the interest rates. You see an interest rate gap between the US and Europe already now. So that means Europe will also get higher interest rates. That's pretty much guaranteed. And we have also heard the announcements already by the central banks. That indicates that the central banks are moving against inflation. That's actually what we see right now, that the moves are happening. And this will have effect somewhere next year on the demand. So definitely, we will look at some different conditions in the next months. But for the position now, we have always to recognize that there's lots of sectors undersupplied. So that supply still needs to be produced and delivered, and that will take quite some while. So while we all talk already about, oh, there's inflation coming and all there could be effects on demand, we should at the same time recognize there's still a lot of demand to be fulfilled. So there's a time delay between these effects. The exchange rate is a pre-indication what's coming.
And just to go back to the investment that you're announcing, would you be able to do this if Bosch was a publicly quoted company?
Oh, well, I think we would, because it's a good business case. And also as a listed company, it's a good way to go forward, right? That's a good way to spend your capital for, because it's a good business and a core asset to have as a company. We use these assets, which we talked about, of MEMS sensors, of automotive electronics components, and high power electronics in pretty much all sectors. Yeah, the electrification will hit not only the road, but also the house. So the silicon carbide high power devices will be important in all sectors we serve. The electronics we do on MEMS sensors will be all around us. We always have wearables with us right now, right? These wearables are somewhere on your body, on your hand, wrist, or in your earplugs, right? All of them have sensors, so we think it's a good business field. And we think we should be there. We're leading in this. So we think we should bring MEMS on 300 millimeters, a core edge technology, which is really the forefront of technology, right? We should do that because it's a good business case. And the same is for the ASICs. It's a good business case. We should do it.
That was Stefan Hartung from Bosch speaking to me a little earlier. Well, it was once Europe's most valuable private fintech, but this week saw Klarna's valuation plunge to $6.7 billion US. Last year, that figure stood at $46 billion. Well, it comes on the back of a new funding round that brought in $800 million for the company from investors such as Mubadala, the sovereign wealth fund of the United Arab Emirates, and the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board. Right, joining me now is Sebastian Siemiatkowski. He's the chief executive and founder of Klarna. Seb, good to see you this morning. Are you disappointed that your valuation has fallen?
I mean, nobody could be happy about it, obviously, but I think also one has to look into the context of our public peers who've dropped, 75 to 90%. PayPal is down 75%. So it is obviously on par with what we've seen in public markets. With that said, I mean, I must say, with all the people I deal with, whether it's customer, merchants, regulators, or even media, investors are the ones that I found the most unpredictable from that perspective.
Did you have to raise money at this moment in time?
I mean, we had a business plan that said that we were going to raise this money, and it was important for us also that obviously some people would say, okay, this is a tough time for companies like ours or for fintech or for the tech sector as such. But me, myself, since I've been running this company for 17 years, I took it through the recession of 2007, and it's a company that's been profitable. Actually, media tends to forget about that. We've been profitable for 14, 15 years of our existence. I see this as a tremendous opportunity, right? I know that a lot of our competitors will struggle. So we obviously wanted to raise money now to invest further into the US market and into the opportunities that we see.
So basically, you're in a bit of a land grab phase right now then?
Indeed, yes. And I think, again, to me, Amazon at some point in time, 99 was worth $30 billion. Then they were worth $3 billion. Now they were I think this idea that we've had and this belief that we have that there is a tremendous disruption going on, similar to what happened in retail, now going on in retail banking, and that there will be an opportunity to establish the future of retail banking is as true as it was 6 months ago. So if you look at that, we have the fantastic opportunity of going after the biggest profit pools in the world that happens to be these retail banks who have been making tremendously too much money on consumers and merchants alike. So that hasn't really changed as much as, investor sentiment and perspective on these things may vary over time.
Do you worry, though, that the competitive landscape is getting tougher? I mean, you've got Apple in there with all of their enormous resources starting to flex their muscles in this field?
Well, I think, look, first and foremost, I'm super happy that Apple announced Buy Now, Pay Later from the perspective of this has been a form of credit that has been heavily scrutinized and questioned, rightfully so, as every form of credit should be. But I think this is a confirmation that this form of credit is better than the traditional credit cards, charging 56% interest rate, trying to push you into borrowing much more. Our average outstanding balances are $70 versus $3,000 on a credit card. So I think that this to me is extremely positive because this banking industry needs to change. Now, with that said, I also think typical CEOs always say they want more competition and then they're not happy about it when they see it. But again, if you've done this for 17 years, I've seen that mostly competition has made us better. And I think this will as well, right? Now, with that said, it's also it's only US, it's only specific on iPhones. We also have a massive, the actual impact, I think, will be fairly marginal in the shorter term. But in the longer term, obviously, I think it's a fantastic confirmation of the direction we have. And I have a good friend here in Stockholm called Daniel Ek, who's been competing with Spotify against Apple Music quite successfully for a long period of time. So I'm not too nervous about it.
OK. Now, you've just let go 10% of the workforce. Why was that?
Well, it is unfortunate the fact, right, that we had an investor sentiment that was all about growth 6 months ago, and then suddenly we saw this dramatic shift where investors now want to see profitability. And as much as we would have loved to continue investing in the massive opportunity that we see ahead of us, we realize we need to make adjustments. We need to come back to profitability like we were in 2018, and that unfortunately led to the very sad consequences of being forced to part ways with some of our fantastic talent. And it's obviously very painful when you do that, but I think, as you also see, investors actually, to some degree, see that as a strength. There's a lot of companies out there who still haven't taken the tough decisions that they most likely will have to do in this shifted world.
And in terms of how you're trading at the moment, what are you seeing across the business right now? Are you seeing a downturn in consumer spending around the world?
Actually, not to that extent. What you are definitely seeing is the shift where, e-commerce has a very tough comp this year, because last year still COVID was full going, and now, people have shifted back. So I think there's been a lot of discussions of whether, how much COVID would have accelerated e-commerce. And it looks more likely right now that e-commerce continues to grow at the same rate. It had an acceleration, and it's going to come back to the same level and will continue to grow and grab market share. But obviously, compared to last year, it's a little bit more challenging comp. So that you definitely see. The inflation, actually, we haven't seen that much. We would have seen it through average order values going up, but we haven't yet seen that in the type of goods traded on our platforms. And you gotta remember, this is like $80 billion worth of goods per year. So we haven't seen that yet. But we definitely see a shift towards travel, towards experiences, people using our cards much more than before when traveling, restaurants, etc. So there you can see a clear shift.
All right, Seb, we've got to leave it there. Good to talk to you this morning. Appreciate you joining me. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, the oil price has rallied this morning after falling below $100 a barrel briefly yesterday. A barrel of Brent crude right now is at $100.79 a barrel. That is up 1 1/3%. Well, after all the equity excitement in the foreign exchange markets yesterday, during which the euro hit parity with the US dollar for the first time since December 2002, it's a little bit quieter this morning. The single currency is still trading on a par with the greenback, while sterling, well, that's more or less unchanged against both the dollar and the euro, as you can see there. Much more to talk about on the equity markets actually this morning. There was mixed trading in the Asia-Pacific region overnight. There were gains in Tokyo and Sydney, declines in Mumbai and in Hong Kong. Shanghai were more or less unchanged. We had a couple of interest rate rises in the region overnight. The Bank of Korea raised interest rates by 0.5%, as did the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, which has now announced 6 consecutive interest rate rises. In Europe, meanwhile, well, stocks, as you can see, have been trading largely to the downside this morning. All of the main continental European indices are in negative territory right now. Talking points in Europe this morning include EDF. Shares have been suspended this morning in Paris, pending further details on the French government's plans to nationalise the power generator. Well, here in London, the FTSE 100 is also in negative territory, off nearly 47 points. That represents a decline of around 0.2%. The sell-off is based largely on healthcare and oil stocks weighing on the index this morning. In terms of individual movers, well, the leading faller in percentage terms is the asset manager Aberdeen. It's off 4% this morning on comments from one of the brokers. There are not too many gainers to mention in the FTSE, but Diageo, as you can see there, is up by just over 1%. I think it's a bit of a pre-results buy. It's got results the week after next. Outside the FTSE, the shipping services group Clarkson, the shares there up by nearly 13%. That's following a trading update, but as you can see at the bottom of the screen there, Wizz Air and EasyJet both in the doldrums amid concerns over travel disruption. Well, joining me this morning is the investment director at Fidelity International, Tom Stevenson. Tom, welcome to you. Obviously, we had these interest rate rises overnight in Asia. It's the trend that we're getting everywhere. But today we get the US inflation numbers, and that potentially is going to give us a clue about what the Fed's going to do next.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why the markets are sort of sitting on the fence at the moment. They're waiting for those inflation numbers this afternoon. The expectation is that inflation will rise to a new 40-year high, probably something like 8.8% in the US. And I think that will give the Fed the justification that it needs to push through another 3/4 point interest rate hike when they meet at the end of this month.
Tom, also big week in the US for corporate earnings. We start to hear from the banks about their half-year results.
Yeah, that's right. So everyone has been waiting for this earnings season. It's a particularly important one because I think the stock market has factored in a certain amount of decline in terms of economic activity and earnings, but not really the full amount that we might get to see. And I think that's why everyone's watching these results so closely. They start tomorrow with the banks. We've got JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, Citigroup. So a lot of banks kicking off the results season as they always do this week.
All right, Tom, short and sweet this morning, I'm afraid, but good to see you as ever. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, we're going to get a bit of reaction now to this morning's GDP figures, as well as hearing about some of the key tax pledges being made by hopefuls in the Conservative leadership contest. I'm joined now by the Shadow Chancellor, Rachel Reeves. She joins me live from Chess Fest, which is a 3-day outdoor event being hosted by Chess in Schools and Communities, a charity that uses chess to enhance children's educational and social development. Rachel, welcome to you. We'll talk about that in a moment, but I just want to get your reaction to this morning's GDP figures, which were clearly better than expected.
Better than expected for this month, but over the last few months, disappointing data. And as you know, the OECD forecasting that next year the UK will have the lowest growth in any G20 economy except for Russia, and the highest inflation in any of the G7 economies. So still a worrying outlook for the UK economy, with inflation high and rising and growth stagnating.
Now, talking about the Conservative leadership contest, you've been very critical overnight of the various hopefuls for throwing around uncosted tax promises. Presumably then you'd be behind someone like Rishi Sunak, who is really not promising tax cuts at all right now.
Well, one of the reasons we're in the mess we're in is because of some of the decisions that Rishi Sunak has made as Chancellor over the last few years, including huge wasteful spending, with fraud being written off, with dodgy contracts to friends and donors of the Conservative Party, all signed off by Rishi Sunak when he was Chancellor for over 2 years, and a failure to get a grip with both the cost of living crisis and indeed the stagnating economic growth. So one of the reasons why we are in the problems that we face right now is because of the poor stewardship of the economy, not just in the last 2 years, to be honest, but under the last 12 or so years under successive Conservative chancellors. But it is deeply irresponsible now to see the Tory leadership candidate after Tory leadership candidate coming out with a tombola of unfunded tax cuts, because if you're going to promise something like tax cuts, you have to say where the money's going to come from. And I've been very clear that Labour would pay for all day-to-day spending with tax receipts, and that means if you're going to either say you're going to spend more on something, or if you're going to cut taxes, you have to explain where that money is going to come from. And it either has to come, in the case of these Tory tax cuts, from more deficits and more borrowing, or it comes from big cuts to public services. And when we've got millions of people waiting for hospital operations, kids in supersized classes, and people struggling to access the justice system, I'd like to understand better, or at all, how the Tory unfunded tax cuts are actually going to be paid for.
OK, well, let's talk about the event that you're attending today. I know you're a keen chess player yourself. What do you think kids get out of playing chess?
It's wonderful to be here today and see so many kids from a whole variety of backgrounds. I've got kids from my constituency in Leeds West here today as well, learning chess, learning from some of the champions as well. And what it teaches us is about thinking ahead, thinking strategically, planning. And one of the wonderful things, and actually it's quite different from when I was growing up, is that more and more children from a variety of backgrounds are playing, and the initiative of Chess in Schools and Communities, who have organised this chess festival over a number of days, is that it is opening up access to chess from children from a variety of backgrounds, and as I say, really from right across the country. And it's great to see Wingate School from Armley in Leeds West taking part today. And you know, boys and girls, and chess was very male dominated when I started to play in the 1980s, but I've met two chess champions both age 7. I've got to get back to PMQs in a bit. So sadly, I won't have a chance to play them. I'm sure they would absolutely thrash me. But there's some fantastic chess players, and England winning gold medals now in international tournaments, which is fantastic to see.
Do you get much time to play chess these days, though?
I play with my kids who are aged 9 and 7, and chess in schools and communities have got chess clubs in 5 or 6 of the schools in my constituency. And just last Thursday, I met with 3 of those schools ahead of some of them coming down here this week, and played a simultaneous game against, I think, 12 youngsters at once. So I still play a little bit. I think I was probably better when I was a few years younger and I had a bit more time for these things, but I still really enjoy it. And I've learned a lot from chess about thinking ahead, about working in a male-dominated environment, and probably to be a bit competitive as well.
Do you think the Queen's Gambit helped enhance understanding and interest in the game?
Well, absolutely. It's a fantastic TV drama. I would say my experience of playing chess growing up was not quite as glamorous, perhaps, as the Queen's Gambit, but I think certainly having a female role model in chess and it being dramatised in that way was a great thing. And, you know, during lockdown, the 2 7-year-olds who I met today who are now winning medals for England in international tournaments, both of them learnt to play at home. They first of all learnt from their parents and from a book, and then they learnt to play on the computer online. So chess is increasingly being opened up to children from all sorts of backgrounds, and it's, you know, an inexpensive and educational thing to do with the kids. And I enjoy playing with my children, and I also enjoy going into schools in Leeds West to play.
All right, Rachel Reeves, good to talk to you this morning. Best of luck with the event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, you might recall 6 weeks ago, we featured the launch of the McRobert Award, run by the Royal Academy of Engineering. It's the UK's most prestigious engineering award, and it recognises pioneering innovations that are set to have a positive impact globally. Well, now we can speak to the winner. John Mylad is co-founder and chief executive of Quanta Dialysis Technologies, whose portable dialysis machine is tipped to revolutionise how patients with kidney issues are treated. John, welcome to you. I mean, essentially, your machine enables people to be treated at home rather than in a hospital.
That's a great summary, and thank you for having me here today. The whole idea behind what we've developed is to provide greater flexibility in how life-sustaining kidney replacement therapy is delivered, and by allowing it to be provided in different settings, like the home, and by making it easy enough for different types of people to operate the device, like patients and their families in the home setting.
And this is already up and running and being used by NHS trusts across the country.
We've had a great partnership with the NHS over many years. In the last couple of years, we've been commercially rolling that out. We're now in about a dozen NHS trusts, and we're looking forward to making an even greater impact and helping more patients have greater choice in dialysis care.
I gather the intellectual property was originally based about producing orange juice from concentrate.
It's a very good way of describing it. Yeah, one of the core enabling technologies has to do with putting sophisticated fluidics controls and management onto a small, lightweight, disposable cartridge. And in doing so,
All ladies, you are invited to our premier 13th annual Women's Conference, Lady to Lady Global Conference 2022. Theme, Joy. Date, Saturday, 30th July. Doors open at 11 a.m. Venue, Fairview's Concert Halls, the Phoenix Theater, Croydon, CR91DG3, United Kingdom. Register on www.ladytoladyglobal.org. Music Minister, CLC Healing Voices. Simeon. Queenie. Ada Ahi.
Congratulations, I have seen the glory of God.
Conference speakers Reverend Betty King, Pastor Marjorie, Pastor Sandra.
I did come to Lady, and from that day onwards, my life has never been the same.
See you there.
SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Starr, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clemens, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamp Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Pram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Pram Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
Check me out. He tells me my energy is making him tired.
Yes!
How do you get the energy to do
I've been told that I have a lot of energy, but my goodness, I think today I have met my match, people. I have met my match, Miss Suzanne. Wow, amazing.
One of the things that's the start of the darkness. Hole of darkness. So what did that? Myself and the world will adjust. And 2019,
Forget the proverbial boardroom. Join me, Simone Frazier, on The CEO, the program that gives you the driving seat over your life. Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. only on Starr Radio.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamp Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi there, this is CJ Buckman, your life coach. And whenever I'm in London, I listen to Starr Radio UK right here. But guess what? You can listen to wherever you are.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
All around the world. In your car.
At work.
At home.
On your smartphone.
UK. Are you ready to turn it up?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Hey, this is Archie, and you are listening to Starr Radio UK and the Morning Show.
Okay, let me say a massive good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth, and those of you on the other planets as well. Good morning and welcome to Starr Radio UK and to the morning show.
You watching us now, and when it looks as if we can win.
Today is Wednesday, the 13th day of July, the year 2022. The time flying by like no man's business. 10:47. Yeah, the technical team were working assiduously on sorting some things out here in the studio for us, and that's why there was a bit of a delay there. But let me welcome you all on board. Let me say good morning to my team, Mr. Olayomi working behind the scenes, Mr. Frank Davis behind the scenes, and then my able producer, Mr. Francis Guy as well. That's a massive good morning to you, gentlemen. To our presenters on Starr Radio UK, I salute each and every one of you, and once again, welcome to the show. I remain yours sincerely, the one and only Archie, and from now till 12 o'clock, when I take you to the House of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time, I'm gonna make it worth your while. So keep your dial still logged on Starr Radio UK. Don't tag the dial at all. How was your night? Did you manage to sleep if you were in the UK and Europe, where it's scorching hot? But the other part of the world are enjoying some nice breezes there. I know South Africa, where Eben is, Cape Town, it's kind of cool there. But hey, in London, it's kind of hot. But this morning, cloudy as well. Okay, so let's crack on because we got time that is flying by like no man's business. I'm going to bring you the course of the day, the weather forecast will follow suit, then the travel update as well. We move on from there to have a look at some of the stories making the rounds across the globe. From there, we continue to have a look at updates from Nigeria, which Mr. Olayomi has posted this morning. Because it's working behind the scenes this morning, yesterday and this morning, so I will have to bring that your way, as I did yesterday. But maybe you're listening to us and you have some information that you want to share with us. My goodness, feel free to do so. You will be the extended hand of Starr Radio UK in your community, wherever you might find yourself. But playing in the background, something from Koda. Made a way, made a way, made a way.
Only because you made.
Share the our broadcast with your friends and loved ones and invite them to like our pages as well. Okay, let's crack on. So, and after bringing you that one at 12 o'clock, we'll go to the House of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time. The first one after Boris Johnson's resignation. It's going to be an interesting one. What do you think? Okay, so the quote for the day says, the hard reality is that you can't blame anybody, the government, parents, teachers, or anybody for anything. Because the buck stops with you. So you got to blame yourself. So that's the hard reality. Do your best wherever you are. As I said, when I was young, there was one poem that was taught me. Brighten the corner where you are. Therefore, I do my best that wherever corner I find myself, I brighten that corner. What about you? Okay, moving on straight to the weather front. Let's look at what is happening when it comes to the weather. The weather. Oh my goodness. Oh ho ho. Well, a bit milder than it's been of late, but the milder are what 2 degrees. Now today, we're going to be seeing this afternoon we'll see variable cloud and the odd spot of drizzle at first, but cloud will tend to retreat southwards to reveal some sunshine by evening. A very warm day once again. Now this evening we'll see any lingering cloud will recede southwards. It will then become dry and overnight, clear overnight. A few patches of cloud may drift in at times. However, a cooler night than of late. Woo, so we can sleep, Abby. Alright then, that's a good one. The top temperature is going to be 29 degrees, otherwise it's going to be 15 degrees. Pollen level is going to be moderate, UV level moderate, and pollution moderate as well. Sunset is going to be at 21:14 and sunrise for tomorrow morning 04:58 hours. And that brings us to the end of the weather forecast for you today, Wednesday, the 13th day of July. Bring it the time now at 10:51. You and nothing we've done. Let's see what is happening on the travels because your grace was strong enough. When it comes to the national rail, there are lots of advices that is going on talking about what do we call it? Rail lines melted and stuff like that. Oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my. Let's take a pause and let's go straight to the roads, and then when we finish, I'll bring you the song in full. So stay tuned. Check it out. Keep your eyes on the road. Yeah, so keep your eyes on the roads, keep your eyes on the roads. I'm keeping updated. I promise I'm on the Starr Radio UK Travel Update that comes to where every weekday from 10:40. It's now 10:52. Now, on the underground this morning, good service throughout London, overground, TFL, rail, good service there. But London Tramlink has got past suspension due to industrial action. Okay, so check. For today and tomorrow, that industrial action is going to be taking place at 21 hours. With no trams after 21 hours, please aim to complete journeys by 20 hours. Now moving on to the major roads in London. On the major roads in London, A24, A4, A41, Central London Red routes have all got closures. A40 has got severe delays. If you can avoid it, do your best to avoid that. Now let's move on straight to the river bus. On the river bus, apart from the Woolwich Ferry, that's still got special service. All the others are running good service there. And then on the National Rail, it's only one good service throughout. ScotRail have got special service. That aside, all the others working very, very well. So on that note, let me say it once again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you, wherever you might be on planet Earth. Enjoy your commute for today. But you know what? Continue to keep those eyes on the road.
Ladies, you are invited to our premier 13th annual Women's Conference, Lady to Lady Global Conference 2022. Theme, Joy. Date, Saturday, 30th July. Doors open at 11 a.m. Venue, Fairview's Concert Halls, the Phoenix Theater, Croydon, CR91DG3, United Kingdom. Register on www.ladytoladyglobal.org. Music Minister, CLC Healing Voices. Simeon. Queenie, Ada Ahi.
Congratulations, I have seen the glory of God.
conference speakers, Reverend Betty King, Pastor Marjorie, Pastor Sandra.
I did come to Lady, and from that day onwards, my life has never been the same.
See you there.
Welcome back to the program Star Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Bringing the time now to 5 minutes to the top of the hour, and let's go global trotting. Now, some of the stories that we're going to be looking at this morning. When it comes to Nigeria, PDP charged Wike's godfather, others to plead with him. That's what the source is saying. How true is that? We'll bring you more on that. And that ex-governor resigns from APC over Tinubu's choice of Shetima. I'm fully ready to support Peter Obi financially. Who is speaking, as I said yesterday? Well, it looks like Peter Obi is a dark horse, and everybody seems to be looking at, hey, this one, and he could come around and then be in the lead. But is that going to bring about peace in Nigeria? That's a question that lots of people seem to be asking, but we'll be bringing you more on that front. And Tambuwal betrayed me. Femi Gbajabiamila is also saying why Buhari failed to attend Osun APC rally. What happened? Well, that's what the PDP are alluding to. We will be looking into that. Nigeria inflation, epileptic power costs of diesel erodes gains of doing business in Nigeria. Well, that seems to be the issue there. So, though the way inflation and they're looking at power cost of diesel, because they have to be powering all their transformers or plants and stuff like that. They think that whoa. From the word go, default position, when you want to do business in Nigeria, you are at a loss. But what do you think? Well, this is a lot more we're going to be looking at and other stories. Star Radio UK. Now moving on to other parts of the world as well. Well, in Ghana, the legend AB Krenzel, I call him ABC at the time. The High Life legend has passed on. Okay, yes, and I say not case. Supreme Court set July 27 for ruling. That is going to be an interesting one, because that's what the government used in Ghana to outwit the minority, wrangling their way, trying to, actually reduce their numbers there. But we will see what is going to be happening. We're following all of those stories very, very closely. It is Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. And I'm moving on, because it's a Wednesday edition of the morning show. We have to be driving very, very fast. In Africa, several parties welcome ruling to hand I don't know, I can't get the name right. The Busibiaratu. Okay, let me take it again. Bushi Baruta, 20 years in prison. And why is this happening? I'm going to bring you more on that. Who is Bushi Baruta? Baruta. Okay, we'll be looking into that story as well. One of the hard men when it comes to Africa. Yes, it's Star Radio UK. And then in other parts of the world, where protesters stormed Sri Lanka Prime Minister's office as crowds tear gassed. The Prime Minister has imposed a curfew in part of the country after the president fled. Well, the people just occupied the presidency. Now the president had to flee. Sri Lanka's president flees country on military jet. Gotabaya Rajapaksa has arrived in Maldives amid mass protests over Sri Lanka's economic crisis. And then Tory leadership rivals battle to secure MPs' votes. These are some of the stories making the rounds. The UK economy grew but fears remain over high prices. The economy grew by 0.5% in May. This and a lot more I'm going to be looking at. It is Star Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Enjoy the rest of the song that I was bringing your way. Made Away, a cover version by the one and only Koda. Stay tuned and don't you go away. morning to Abdul Hamid Olamilekan. Good morning, sir. I hope you are doing very, very well. Abdul, yes, have a lovely day and thanks for joining us. Well,
holding on to faith, you know that nothing can catch you by surprise. You got this figured out. You watching us now, and when it looks as if we can't win, you wrap this in your arms and you step in, and everything will need your supply. You've got this in control, and now we know that you made a way. When our backs were against the wall and looked as if it was over, you made a way. And we're standing here only because you made a way. My Jesus, you made a way.
Now we're here, looking back on where we come from. Because of you and nothing we've done to deserve the love and mercy you've shown. But your grace was strong enough to pick us up. You made a way when our backs were against the wall and it looked as if it was over. You made a way, and we're standing here only because you made.
Terms and
You made a way
when our backs were against the wall,
when our backs were against the wall
and it looked
and it looked as if it was over.
you, Jesus, you made a way.
Made a way,
And we're standing here today
and we're standing here only because you made
for your
a way.
movement. You cause walls to fall with your power. You perform miracles. There is nothing, oh no, that's impossible. And we're standing here.
This is
only
Starr
because
Radio
you
UK.
made. Say,
You move mountains,
yes, you did, yes, you
you
did.
cause the walls to fall with your power.
Resurrection power,
Perform
Jesus. Perform
miracles. There is
miracles.
nothing
Nothing, no, no,
that's
no, no.
impossible. And we're standing here only because you
And
made.
we're standing
And we're
here.
standing here only because you
The devil
made.
tried
And
everything,
we're
but we're standing
standing here
here.
only because you
Then we're
made.
standing
And we're
here.
standing here
Only because you, my Jesus, made way. Can I get some horns? Don't know how, but you did.
okay, don't know how, but you did it. Who did it? God did it for us. Okay, so as I said, yes, somewhere, somehow, God always makes a way. You know, at times you go sleep. At the time you go into bed, you are thinking, what is even going to happen tomorrow morning? And you're not very sure of it. But somewhere, somehow, you wake up, you go out, and everything seems to be ticking along nicely. What about that? Well, let me say good morning to Adeboye Mayungbe as well as a very good morning to all of us, the Starr Radio fans. Let's remain blessed. Of course, let us all remain blessed. And may Nigeria never happen to each and every one of you, wherever you are today. All right then, Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, bringing the time now to exactly 4 minutes past the top of the hour. A quick break and I bring you the update from Nigeria. So stay tuned, don't you go away. Starr Radio, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Welcome back to the program Starr Radio UK, the Wednesday edition of the morning morning show, and therefore we will be exiting exactly at 12 o'clock, taking you straight to the House of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time. I remain yours sincerely, the one and only Archie, and I'm bringing you updates from Nigeria as provided by Mr. Olayomi Koiki this morning, working behind the scenes. And for our listeners, tonight there's not going to be Niger voices though. Next week we're packaging a very nice bit that we're going to be bringing your way. But tomorrow morning, God willing, we'll be having Mr. Olayomi Koiki joining us on the morning show once again, reporting live. Okay, so wherever you are, don't even think of touching the dial. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. So a couple of stories from Nigeria. Let's crack on. The People's Democratic Party has taken steps to stop Governor of Rivers State Nyesom Wike from dumping the party ahead of the 2023 general elections. The presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, is all out to end the differences between him and the Rivers State governor. How is he going to do that? A source disclosed that the main opposition party has enlisted Wike's godfather, former governor of Rivers State, Peter Odili, and others to meet with him. He wanted to be the vice or the running mate, and they didn't give it to him, and now they're trying to appease him. Well, they have to promise him heaven and earth then. A source disclosed that the main opposition party has enlisted Wike's godfather, former governor of Rivers State, Peter Odili, and others to meet with him. According to The Nation, others involved in the reconciliation move include two former presidents of the Senate, Senator David Mark and Bukola Saraki, the chairman of the board of trustees of the PDP, Senator Walid Jibril, ex-governors, and current governors, especially Samuel Otum and Seyi Makinde. They are the ones who are going to embark on this mission. The source that spoke said PDP is jittery about losing Wike and the South because with Peter Obi's pervasiveness in Labour Party, the Southeast is no longer a robust political base for it. The main opposition party is also on the edge in the Northeast, and with the choice of Senator Kashim Shettima as the vice presidential candidate for APC, also the Southwest is a dead end for the PDP, and the APC Muslim tickets appeal to the Northwest. Well, so do you think that Wike will have to now decide, okay, let me chill it and then let's get on with it? Or what are they going to promise him? All that he wanted to be the vice president or the running mate. Okay, running mate, not vice president yet. You have to win before you become the vice president. So all that he wanted was to be the running mate, and then Atiku Abubakar decided to outweigh him, give it to someone else, and they said, well, looking at Peter Obi's performance so far, I said it yesterday, it's causing them to quiver in their boots. So what do you think is going to happen there? Starr Radio UK. And the question is, if Wike, with the stance of Wike, whatever it is, I know that the Biafrans or the Southeast people are not in favor of what government is doing, but maybe having Wike as a running mate or becoming a vice president, maybe it will turn the fortunes of the Biafrans or the Igbo people around, because the marginalization might be kept there. But what do you think about all that? I want to know your take on that. It's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Let's move on to some other stories making the rounds in Nigeria, bringing the time now to 8 minutes past the top of the hour. Don't you worry, tomorrow, God willing, we'll be bringing you a full update when it comes to the stories making the round. Anthony, good morning to you. I hope the US is good and you are doing good as well. A female legal practitioner, my heart out to you, love to you as well. A female legal practitioner, Modupe Odele, has revealed she's fully ready to support the Labour Party presidential candidate financially. I did talk about that yesterday as well. But what do you think? The lawyer, simply identified as Moi, confessed she has never donated to any presidential candidate in Nigeria, but she confessed possessing a strong will to deploy her finances for the former Anambra governor ahead of 2023 election. Now, interestingly, I do ask myself the question. Now, if we have a situation where you are openly declaring your support for a particular party. Okay, and it happens that that party so never didn't win the election, and the one that you were opposing rather won the election. It's not this part of the world. Back in Africa, they come against you. They try to, somebody Bob Marley will say susupon you. They'll do their best to do that to you. Do you think it's a wise move when we do that, or it's the declaring of our intentions? So whatever happens or whatever is going on, you say that, well, this is what I stand for. Because back in the US as well, we saw people doing that. Even here, we see that in the UK, we see some celebrities endorsing particular candidates. So do you think it's a wise move then? I want to know and how it impacts your business. If it happens that it goes the other way, what do you do? If it wins, why not? Then, hey, everybody, hey. Well, if you lose, what happens? Well, it is Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. 2023, those whom the gods want to destroy, they first make mad. Lawal hits Tinubu. Hey, this fight, I don't think it's going to end today. Now, former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Babakir Lawal, has faulted the announcement of a Muslim ticket by the presidential candidate of All Progressive Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, Lawal, in a note he personally signed on Tuesday, described the decision as disastrous error. Now, Tinubu on Sunday announced former Borno State Governor Kassim Shettima as his running mate in the 2023 presidential election. Mr. Lawal, who backed Tinubu during the APC presidential primaries, said the choice of Mr. Shettima was a sign that the APC presidential candidate has been cornered by self-serving, hero-worshipping lapdogs. The northern governors and some northern Muslim elites must have persuaded him that they will never vote for a ticket that has a northern Christian on it. And he has agreed with them, Mr. Lawal said. But if he thinks a Muslim ticket will win him the northern Muslim vote, he should have a rethink. They will massively vote for one of their sons because it is in their nature to do so. Buhari, their first son, will not be on the ballot in 2023. Atiku, their second son, will be. Now, I thought I would be able to avoid commenting on their disastrous error by my very good friend, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his choice of a running mate. It goes on further to say, I will be the very last person to stand in the way of my very good friend Tinubu's path to the presidency. This is because since 2011, my consuming passion has been for him to succeed Buhari as president of Nigeria. Then he had a very good trust in him. It will not be true if I say that I did not see it coming. I have often read his body language, picked up snippets from several discussions with his lapdogs, some of whom sadly are Christians, but most of whom are Muslims. And I have conveyed my reservations to them against the pitfalls of a Muslim ticket, towards which I sense they were drifting. Now, as part of my obligation to him, a close friend, I had on my occasion or many occasions argued the merits and demerits of both ticket permutations to him. I've done so in both verbal and written form, and I have likewise done so with some of his close, respectable associates and friends. In all instances, I had left him with the sole responsibility for his final decision, arguing that in the end, the consequences of the outcome of any bad decision will be his to bear. There might be some collateral damages, though. I have also on several occasions passed on to him counsels and messages from some well-meaning Nigerians intended to alert him on the possible outcomes of the presidential tickets permutation. Now, it goes further to say, Tinubu is a very good man. He's a great listener. He has a very humble and friendly disposition to everyone. He's very generous in both cash and kind, especially where it could advance his political interests. But I have realized that in the nature of power, that sycophants and lapdogs have the most influence on leaders with such character traits. They will lie to him, malign and disparage others, and generally do anything to carry his favor and to also put well-meaning associates in a bad light. I suspect this is what has happened to my friend. He has been cornered by self-serving, hero-worshipping lapdogs. It never used to be like this. While in his heydays in Lagos, he surrounded himself with smart, street-wise guys that could tell the truth to power. He had Rauf Aregbesola, Yemi Osibanjo, Babatunde Fashola, Dele Alake, Muse Banere, etc. The Lagos days were the days of think tanks, strategic planning, monitoring and evaluation principles, and ideologies. But these people have since grown up and moved up to establish their own system, leaving my friends stranded. Nature, they say, abhors vacuum. Welcome to Abuja equivalent. But Abuja equivalent are people inflicted with the modern Nigerian diseases: religious bigotry, sycophancy, morbid tribalism. They are mostly political jobbers who are most times not averse to application of diabolical means. Gone are the days of think tanks and strategic planning. Gone are the days of principles and ideologies. Try and call a meeting, they will not attend. Try and make a plan, they will sabotage it. Everything is ad hoc. Everything is chaotic because they excel in such environment. The result is that they have played on his long-term ambition to be president and have built it into a sort of desperation and crescendo that easily justifies this satanic resort to a Muslim ticket. This is the calamity that has befallen my friend. Well, what is going to happen there is very, very interesting. Do you see a Muslim ticket bringing an end to the APC if that election holds in 2023? That is next year. Yomi will tell you tomorrow the number of days that is left, but I'm counting up to about 200, and it may be 11 days or 10 days. But do you think that election is going to hold? I would love to hear from you. This has been a statement from Lawal hitting back at Tinubu because he said, I've advised him several times. But it's all Starr Radio UK. One other story from Nigeria, and then we'll bring that update to a close. But I tell you, tomorrow we'll bring you a comprehensive update from Nigeria. The People's Democratic Party in Osun State has disclosed the reason President Muhammadu Buhari was not at the election rally of Governor Adeboyega Oyetola, my apologies, held in Osogbo on Tuesday. Now reports the APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu, his running mate Kashim Shettima, and governors elected on the platform of the party attended the rally to canvass votes for Oyetola ahead of Saturday's governorship election. In a statement on Tuesday by its caretaker chairman Akindele Adekunle, the PDP said the president was not at the rally because he refused to support any attempt to rig the governorship election. We've not gotten there yet, but we're talking about rigging of elections. The party said Buhari does not want to associate himself with rigging in order not to ruin his legacy after leaving office in 2023. The PDP, however, called on the security agents to take a cue from that and reject unlawful directives to rig Saturday's poll. The statement read in part, Buhari's absence at the rally was a signal of his disapproval of any attempt to rig the governorship election as directed by the APC national chairman, Adamu Abdullahi. We call on law enforcement agencies to resist unlawful order and protect democratic process. But we'll be looking into that story tomorrow, God willing, once we have Mr. Olayomi Koiki with us. Are the APC planning to rig the governorship election? Tara? Really? Okay. We will follow it very, very close. closely. Osun State election. But that's why I bring to an end the update from Nigeria for today. As you know, it is the Wednesday edition of the morning show. So we got another 40 minutes to run up all the other stories and then land you or take you straight to the Houses of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time. The first of its kind after the resignation of the Prime Minister as the leader of the Conservative Party. It is Starr Radio UK. I remain yours sincerely, Archie. Let's take a quick break and I'll be with you.
All ladies, you are invited to our premier 13th annual Women's Conference Lady to Lady Global Conference 2022. Theme, Joy. Date, Saturday, 30th July. Doors open at 11 a.m. Venue, Fairview's Concert Halls, the Phoenix Theater, Croydon, CR91DG3, United Kingdom. Register on www.ladytoladyglobal.org. Music Minister, CLC Healing Voices. Simeon. Queenie, Ada Ahi. Congratulations, I have seen the glory of God. Conference speakers, Reverend Betty King, Pastor Marjorie, Pastor Sandra.
I did come to Lady, and from that day onwards, my life has never been the same.
See you there.
Welcome to Gabby Dave Global. We are a UK-based online e-commerce store, the first of its kind with license to trade in African products. Some of the products are clothing brands and all beauty accessories, hair and beauty brands, natural aphrodisiacs, processed and dried unprocessed food. Our mission at Gabby Dave is to connect African and Caribbean businesses to customers globally. At Gabby Dave, we ensure our sellers get the best deal for their products. We are not just here to help you reach a wider audience. We are also a distribution center to support business growth by fulfilling orders to your customers from our warehouse, making sure customers receive their products on time. We are inviting all Black-owned businesses to trade on our platform because we strongly believe Africans have a unique brand the customer would appreciate globally. So get in touch today and let us make your product and business go far. Here are some of the benefits of using Gabby Dave Global. User-friendly platform, track your shipment, online support, transparent process, multiple SKUs, multiple products, a platform that encourages manufacturers as well as traders. Our marketing and PR interventions amplifies yours. Organized products and categories for easy access and navigation. Access to global community, especially within UK and Europe.
Welcome back to the program Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Let me take this opportunity to say a good morning and a big welcome to Gilbert Bayawa. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much, Gilbert, for joining us. All the family on Starr Radio UK. It's a pleasure having you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. But now let's crack on. Let's look at some of the other stories making the rounds in other parts of the world. As I've said, it is a Wednesday edition of the morning show, so we'll be taking you to the House of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time exactly at 12 o'clock. So we've got about another 37 minutes to do justice to all the information or the news that is making the rounds. As I say it all the time, it's making the headlines from archaeology to zoology, from Accra to Zanzibar. We'll make sure that we touch on it. A 7-member panel of the Supreme Court, that's in Ghana, has fixed the July 27, 2022 to give its definite ruling on a review application filed by the Asin North constituency member of Parliament, James Jechi Quaison, through his lawyers led by Chacho Chikata, moved a motion for the Apex to review its earlier decision, which was dismissed on 3-2 majority. On March 9th this year, the 5-member panel of the Apex Court has, in a 3-2 majority decision, dismissed its application for stay of proceedings. The embattled MP wanted the Apex Court to stay proceedings at the Cape Coast Court of Appeal for referral of Article 94, subsection 2, subsection A, for interpretation by the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court dismissed and said he should first make that application before the Cape Coast Court. Now, with Justice Gabriel Puaman and Agnes Doji dissenting, three of Justice Gertrude Tokon, three of Justices Tokono, Justice Clemens Onyenuga, and Justice Yoni Kulendi dismissed the application. How did they dismiss it? Was it based on political lines or as per the case that was brought before it? That's another question. Now, moving his motion for review on Tuesday, July 12th, Chachu Chikata raised jurisdictional concerns. Now, Frank Davis, counsel for the first interested party, Michael Ankoma Nimfa, said, no exceptional circumstances has been raised to show that he has been caused a miscarriage of justice. Now, we submit that the application is grossly misconceived and an abuse of the process of the court, lawyer Frank Davis told the court. Not our Frank Davids, this is Frank Davis. Now, the panel chaired by Justice Gabriel Paulman, after listening to the party, said the application is adjourned to July 27, 2022 for definite ruling. Well, so we'll be following it very, very closely. We'll see what happens on that front. It is All Star Radio UK. Let's move on to some other stories making the rounds. One other story making the rounds from Ghana, and then we will make a move to other parts of the world. Now, sack, reshuffle non-performing ministers to avoid a Sri Lanka situation. Adam Bona to Akufo-Addo. Well, Adam Bona is a security expert. He's a security expert. Security expert calls for Adjasafo to be sacked. Now, angry youth of Sri Lanka besiege the presidential palace. Adam Bona is drawing a link between Ghana and Sri Lanka's situation. The security analyst Dr. Adam Bona has warned of a possible uprising if President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo fails to, with immediate effect, sack non-performing ministers and reshuffle his cabinet. He also wants the president to cut down on the size of the government while taking urgent steps to address the ongoing economic protests by organized labor. According to Dr. Bona, the country is likely to face a Sri Lankan kind of situation where hundreds of angry youth besiege the presidential palace over the mismanagement of the economy should his advice not be heeded. The angry protesters blame the president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, for an unprecedented economic meltdown that has been catastrophic for the nation's 22 million people. Now, speaking this morning, being monitored, Dr. Adam Bona argued that a reshuffle plus the dismissal of some non-performing ministers will force citizens to give the new entrants some time to ascertain what they will bring on board. Yes, it can happen in Ghana, but what the president can do is to sack all non-performing ministers and pave way for some who can do the job. We must also cut down the size of government because some of the ministers are not doing anything. Now, most of them, that's the ministers, are not working, but they receive fuel allowances, provision of state security, that's the place, and also receiving ex gratia at the end of their term. He must also reshuffle some of the ministers. The president must also act quickly in dealing with the labor agitation while reducing fuel prices, he admonished. He also added that the move will give the people hope and ensure the stability, because where the people live in a state of hopelessness, as it happened in Sri Lanka, where there was no hope, people begin to challenge those who are not giving them hope. Dr. Bona, however, observed that the president has demonstrated little capacity in dismissing some of his appointees, citing the absentee member of parliament for Domi Kwabenya, Sarah Adwoa Safo as an example. In the view of Adam Bona, some of the labor agitation stem from President Akufo-Addo's inability to sack the MP, who is also the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, being aware too that she is still being paid for no work done. Interesting. Maybe she is on a long sick holiday call it, or sick break, if they have anything of the sort back in Ghana. But he's saying that, well, if the president did sit up and act, there's a tendency that people are going to invade the presidency, take the presidential seat hostage, and what will happen? Well, the Sri Lankan leader managed to flee the country, but can Ghana's president do so, or they're going to unleash the security on them to shoot people? And as we saw the protest that was going to take place a couple of days back there, what do you think? Well, interestingly, because we have this gentleman in the studio a few months back, a presidential staffer, Charles Bisu, has opted out of the New Patriotic Party General Secretary contest a few days to the party's election. Now, he has thus formally written to inform the NPP's National Election Committee about his decision. On Wednesday, 13 July, I officially renewed my aspiration for the General Secretary position of the New Patriotic Party. A letter has been issued to that effect to the National Election Committee, and that I believe was received in good faith. In the spirit of the party's constitution as stipulated in Article 10, Section 4, I presented myself as a nominee for the General Secretary position, to which I was duly vetted and passed by the election committee. I secured the fourth position among 5 other contenders on the ballot paper, he said in a press statement issued. However, he has assured the party of his unwavering support. As a patriot, I will continue to serve in any capacity and pursue the interests of the party at all times. To my party people, and particularly delegates, I urge you to uphold the tenets of our party's constitution, values, and principles in all endeavors. Okay. Meanwhile, he's asking candidates to not induce the delegates, but allow them to choose their leaders freely. The Ghanaian is a super sensitive to the manner in which we conduct our internal election. I pray therefore that in unity we allow delegates to freely make a choice for its leadership for the next 4-year term. In a related development, former Attorney General Ayikwe Otu has also withdrawn from the chairmanship race. Well, so those are some of the stories making the rounds across Ghana as well. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Wherever you are, get yourself a hot or cold drink, whichever is appropriate. Here is hot, so let me have a sip of water in the view of our, or glare view of our listeners, right? Or viewers. That's a nice gulp there. All right, then. Now let's move on to some other stories making the round. I didn't want to take a break because we don't have that time. Okay. Several parties in the case of the jailed former senior Rwandan official Laurent Busibaruta have welcomed the ruling by a Paris court after handing him 20 years of complicity in the African nation's genocide. The party said this was a relief for the victims of atrocities during the 1994 massacres, in which an estimated 800,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus died in 100 days of mass killings. It is a shock at the same time. He was convicted of complicity in genocide. So I'm not going to beat about the bush. Just a thought for all the victims, for all the survivors who we have heard in court these past weeks, who have come to lay down their burden, who have come to lay down their sufferings, who have come to tell Mr. Busibaruta what they have endured, said Dafroza Goudie, the co-founder of the Collective of Civil Parties for Rwanda. The trial involved more than 100 witness statements, including some from survivors from Rwanda, either in person or by video conference. Now, Busibaruta, who has been in France since 1997, has myriad health problems and was allowed to remain under house arrest during the trial to receive treatment. The most important thing in reality is that the trial took place, and this man, who embodied the power of his prefecture, was obliged, even if it took 28 years, to come and answer questions, to explain himself in front of the victims, in the presence of the survivors, and to listen to survivors' account, said Simon Foreman, lawyer of the Collective Civil Parties for Rwanda. Well, that is something good, and I hope that, well, it causes people who in our governments, various places where they might be, in Nigeria, in Ghana, across Africa, and all those, even in this part of the world as well, who are perpetrating evil on people. Well, we hope that they take a leaf from his book, so that they also don't repeat those things and get a same or worse punishment than he's also gotten. But this is all coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Okay, now moving on to some other story. One more from Mali, which I did talk about yesterday. Now, analysts are now weighing in on the diplomatic row in West Africa following the arrest of Ivorian soldiers at the Mali's Bamako airport, accused of being mercenaries by the Malian authorities. Dr. Alai Tuankara, executive director of the Center for Security and Strategic Studies in the Sahel and political analyst, reflects on the situation. According to the first factual elements given by the state of Mali, the idea of mercenarism is tenable, but at the same time, when one also considers societal aspects, the idea of old habits remain tenable as hypothesis. Now, that these are people who have always been deployed without the state of Mali being informed, sent to Ankara. He said, the second hypothesis, which is also to be taken into account at this stage, is that the military elite in power will seek not only to have effective control over all security elements operating on Malian territory, but it's also a way for the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the political military elite in power to establish legitimacy in the eyes of the public in terms of their ability to deal with threats, whatever their nature. Ivory Coast on Tuesday called on Mali to release the 49 soldiers unjustly detained at Bamako airport and accused by officials of being mercenaries. These are some of the stories making the rounds on the African front. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Let's take a quick break, and now we come back and I bring you what is happening in other parts of the world and here in the UK as well. Stay tuned. Don't you go away.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Starr, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Welcome back to the program. It is Starr Radio UK. Now we've got about 22 minutes to the top of the hour. I'm Archie. Let me say good morning to Abduragbemi Olayomi. I say well done bro to you, well done bro as well. I hope you are doing very very well. Have a lovely day there, Mr. Olayomi. All right then. Now let's move on straight to some of the other stories. Sri Lanka. Interesting, and that is what a security expert in Ghana, Dr. Adam Bona, is saying, signing a word of caution to the government of Ghana that hey, you got to do something before what is happening in Sri Lanka happens to you. So now I'm going to say, may Sri Lanka never happen to a president. You know what happened? Well, the story says that, well, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has fled Sri Lanka on a military jet amid mass protests over the island's economic crisis. The country's Air Force confirmed the 73-year-old flew to the Maldives with his wife and 2 security officials. In his absence, he has appointed Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe as acting president. Mr. Rajapaksa departure ends a family dynasty that has dominated Sri Lanka's politics for the past 2 decades. The president had been in hiding after crowds stormed his residence on Saturday and applied to resign on Wednesday, the 13th of July. Mr. Rajapaksa will not remain in the Maldives and intend to travel onto a third country. His brother, former finance minister Basil Rajapaksa, has also left Sri Lanka and is said to be heading to the US. As Sri Lanka awoke to the news, thousands of people took to the streets of the capital, Colombo. Many gathered at the Belfast Green, the city's main protest site. Some listened to the fiery speeches at a makeshift stage set up for ordinary people to take the mic. Now, punctuated by cries of victory to the struggle, the rallying cry of the protest movement, speakers rallied against a government and the leaders they feel have failed them. Sri Lanka's Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has declared a state of emergency across the country, and a curfew has been imposed in the Western Province. A spokesperson in his office said police have fired tear gas to disperse a group of protesters who were walking near the Prime Minister's office and towards Parliament. Some demonstrators were furious about Mr. Rajapaksa's departure, saying a lack of accountability. We don't like it. We want to keep him. We want our money back, and we want to put all the Rajapaksas in an open prison where they can do farm work, said protester GP Nimar. But 23-year-old university student Rashani Samaranakun said that the former president's exile offered hope that in the future we can eventually become a developed country economically and socially. How does that actually link it together? Okay, Sri Lanka has blamed President Rajapaksa's administration for the worst economic crisis in decades. For months, they have been struggling with daily power cuts and shortages of basics like fuel, food, and medicines. The leader, who enjoys immunity from prosecution while he is president, is believed to have wanted to flee abroad before stepping down to avoid the possibility of arrest by the new administration. Well, so he's gone now. What happens? What happened next? That is a big question. How are Sri Lankans going to sort themselves out? Are they going to go to the IMF? What is going to happen there? The fact that it's been moved doesn't necessarily mean that they have money sitting in their central bank and therefore they are just going to dip their hands in it and they say, okay, now get it, let's get it all sorted. What are they going to do? Now, Sri Lanka is an island nation of southern India. For those of you who don't know, it won independence from British rule in 1948. 3 ethnic groups, the Sinhalese, Tamil, and the Muslims, make up 99% of the country's 22 million population. Now, one family of brothers has dominated for four years. The Mahinda Rajapaksa became a hero among the majority Sinhalese in 2009 when his government defeated the Tamil separatist rebels after years of bitter and bloody civil war. I remember the Tamil Tigers. I have some friends who are Sri Lankans next door, and they brief me a lot. There are some who even gave me some movies that I need to watch with. Yeah, quite interesting. Now I don't know where they all are though. He goes on to say his brother Gotabaya, who was defense secretary at the time, is the current president, but says he is standing down. Now, the president is the head of state, government, and military in Sri Lanka, but does share a lot of executive responsibility with the prime minister who heads up the ruling party in parliament. Now, an economic crisis has led to the fury on the streets. Now, soaring inflation has meant some foods, medication, and fuel are in short supply. There are rolling blackouts, and ordinary people have taken to the street in anger, with many blaming the Rajapaksa family and their government for the situation. So what is going to happen? You know what they ended up doing? When they got to the presidency, they decided to swim in the presidential swimming pool at the presidential palace in Colombo. Why not? It is their tax money, isn't it? Well. We wish them all the best. I don't know what is going to happen to them. I don't know what is going to happen to that nation. I'm not actually very sure of it at all. But it's all coming away from Star Radio UK. Now, in some other stories that I'll not go into detail, the social media firm is trying to force Elon Musk to buy it after he walked away from the deal. That is, Twitter sues Elon Musk over $44 billion takeover deal. He decided now to walk away, and they say that we're going to sue your backside so that you come and do that. But well, it's all coming your way from Star Radio UK. One other story, and then we come to the UK. A Trump tweet mobilized far-right extremists to converge on Washington D.C. on the day of the last year's Capitol riot. A congressional inquiry has heard. He posted a tweet after the craziest meeting of the Trump presidency, said a lawmaker on the panel. The then president forged ahead with a rallying call to supporters, even though aides repeatedly told him he had fairly lost the 2020 elections to Joe Biden. The committee accuses Mr. Trump of an attempted coup to remain in power. Supporters of Donald Trump violently stormed Congress on the 6th of January 2021 as lawmakers met to certify Mr. Biden's victory. Hours before the hearing, Mr. Trump, a Republican, dismissed the Democratic-led House of Representatives panel on his Truth social media platform as political hacks and thugs perpetrating a hoax. Well, the Select Committee has been conducting a nearly a year-long investigation into the attack of the Capitol. Tuesday's hearing, the 7th since June, focused on a tweet Mr. Trump sent in the early hours of the 19th December 2020 and a stormy 6-hour meeting at the White House that preceded the posts. Well, it's All Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. There's a song that I'll be playing before we cross over to the Houses of Parliament from the Prime Minister's Question Time, and it's from one of Ghana's greatest who has passed, A.B. Crenshaw. I'll be bringing that your way, so don't go away at all. Stay tuned and I'll bring you that. But for now, let's come to the UK. Now, extreme weather warning extends to Tuesday. Temperature are set to peak on Monday with highs of 36 degrees forecast for parts of southeast of England. So please, it's going to be an interesting one. But well, moving on straight to the battle that seemed to be raging, waiting to replace Bojo come autumn. Now, Tory leadership hopefuls are battling to secure the support of their colleagues ahead of the first Prime Minister's vote. The first MP's vote in the contest for number 10 later. The 8 candidates who have made it onto the ballot paper will have to secure at least 30 votes to stay in the race to become Prime Minister. It is the first of a series of secret ballots over the next few days to whittle the field down to a final 2. It comes as Penny Mordaunt launches her leadership campaign. She joins Kemi Badenoch, Zuela Braverman, Jeremy Hunt, Rachel Sunak, Liz Truss, Tom Tugendhat, and Nadeem Zahawi on the ballot, as all have secured the required 20 nominations from Tory MPs to make it into the first round. As the race to secure votes steps up a gear, Trade Minister Miss Mordaunt pledged to slash VAT on the VAT on fuel and raise income tax thresholds. Now, setting out her stall at a hot, crowded lunch event, she also promised parents more flexibility over subsidized childcare and said she will give MPs control over social capital pots to spend on their local areas. Now, pitching herself as a team player, she said if she won office, she would introduce a tighter cabinet of ministers with power across Whitehall. Adding that the Conservative Party had lost its sense of self, she also vowed to return the values of small states, low tax, and personal responsibility. Ex-Health Secretary Sajid Javid and Junior Minister Rehman Shitsi have dropped out of the race after failing to pick up enough support. The 30-vote threshold, which has been introduced to quickly narrow the field, could see a number of federal candidates knocked out. Now, Wednesday's ballot will see voting start at 1:30, with a result expected at 17 hours BST. Candidates will also appear at two federal hustings events at the race to secure endorsement heats up. It comes as the former Chancellor, Mr. Sunak, who has the strongest backing among Tory MPs so far, secured support from cabinet ministers Dominic Raab and Grant Shapps. Now, Foreign Secretary Ms. Truss backed an endorsement from cabinet ministers and Johnson loyalists Jacob Rees-Mogg and Nadine Dorries. Now, Mr. Hunt's campaign rejected an accusation from Ms. Dorries that Mr. Sunak's team lent nominations to make sure he got onto the ballot paper. Now, former Foreign Secretary Mr. Hunt, who has not had a lunch event, said he was quietly confident he will make it through the first round of voting. The campaign so far has laid bare Tory divisions over taxation, with a number of candidates attacking the rise in taxes under Mr. Sunak's chancellorship. All the contenders are pledging to bring in immediate tax cuts if they win, apart from Mr. Sunak, who says cuts should wait until inflation goes down. Among those promising to reduce taxes, there are divisions over which taxes should be cut and how quickly. So, what do you think is going to happen? Mr. Sunak said tackling inflation is his number one economic priority, and claimed former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, an icon on the right of the party, would have backed his approach. But on Ms. Truss backers, Mr. Rees-Mogg attacked his record at the Treasury, telling some news network taking tax increasing Chancellor had made decision of the left rather than on the right, and he sought to disparage leave voting Mr. Sunak's Brexit credentials, branding him as an ostensible Brexiteer whose department had resisted ending the supremacy of EU law during his tenure. So he's pulled the Brexit card on the table. And how is that going to pan out for Rishi Sunak? Well. It is Starr Radio UK. We're going to be bringing the first part of the program to a close. And as I said, it's going to be the first one since the Prime Minister stepped down as the leader of the Conservatives. What do you think? The final story: the UK economy grew, but fears remain over rising prices. The UK economy rebounded in May after shrinking in April and March. Official figures show the economy grew by 0.5% during the month. The Office for National Statistics said higher than the flat growth most economists expected. Every area of the economy expanded, including construction, travel, and manufacturing. However, businesses reported that higher running costs had led to them to put up prices for customers, and with the household disposable income set to fall further in the autumn, when energy prices are set to rise again, there is still a real risk that the economy could fall into recession, said Paul Dales, chief UK economist at the Capital Economists. In a quote, he said, "That may mean the economy proves to be a poisoned chalice for whoever wins the race to be the next prime minister, he added. Ha! Well, by close of the day, that's 5 p.m. as they said, we'll know who is still in the run, okay, or in the running. We'll talk about that as the days and the months go by. But this is where I bring the first part of the program to a close. But before I sign out on that, one of Ghana's greats, my apologies, one of Ghana's greats, no other person but the one and only, A.B. Crenso has died. Now, Ghanaians high life legend Alfred Benjamin Crenso, professionally known as A.B. Crenso, has passed away at the age of 79 years. The death of the celebrated singer was confirmed by sounds engineer Fred Che Mensah, better known as Fredima, on Wednesday, July 13th, on his Facebook page. It says, "Farewell, A.B. Crenso, the original composer and singer of the famous and controversial songs Moses and Atia. A.B. Crenso has died. He had a stint with a lot of bands before joining the Sweet Talks band with Smart and Cancer, and then his own band Ahimfo. His hit songs Juliana and Obiba Biase cannot be forgotten." The post read. Speaking, Fredima intimated that the veteran singer had been sick for some time now. Tons of tributes have poured in for the late composer, and ours also pour in for him. But this is one of his songs, Nyamene Hene. Enjoy this, and when that song ends and you don't hear from me, it's me, Archie, but I'll be taking you straight to the House of Parliament, Westminster Castle, for the Prime Minister's question time. Stay tuned, don't you go away.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
Starr Radio. Radio for the people. By.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Mami,
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
Are you ready to turn it up?
This is Starr Radio. This is Starr Radio. This is Starr Radio UK.
Clinics and in community pharmacies.
Well, I think the
honourable gentleman is absolutely right. We need to make sure that we are protecting people from HIV.
Diana Davidson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I first got involved in politics when I was 16, and one of my many motivations for joining David Cameron's Conservatives was because of his socially liberal stance on LGBT plus issues. And one of our party's proudest achievements, in my view, is still introducing same-sex marriage. So will my right honourable friend confirm that whatever the outcome of the leadership election over the next few weeks, that she and the department will continue to prove that the Conservative government is on the side of LGBT people?
Well, I was proud to vote and support gay marriage. It's been a very important step forward for our country.
Final question, Manira Wilson.
Mr. Speaker, given that almost a third of kinship carers have a disability or chronic condition, and a child in kinship care is twice as likely to be black than white, it's clear that kinship carers and equality is issues. So will the Minister meet with me to discuss my kinship carers bill and how we can support kinship carers better who step up to support a child in crisis?
Yes.
Minister to sorry. Minister, I want the question answered. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it. Can you just answer the question?
Mr. Speaker,
order, because I couldn't hear it. Sorry, please, Minister, try again.
Okay. I apologise for confusion, Mr. Speaker. The answer to the honourable lady is yes. I'm happy.
Excellent, thank you. That's very... Before we come to Prime Minister's questions, I'd like to point out that the British Sign Language interpretation proceedings is available to watch on Parliament Live TV. We now come to questions to the Prime Minister. I start with Robin Miller.
Mr. Speaker, from tomorrow...
Just sit down. Sit. Shut up a minute. What's it called? Come. Give me the word in. Order! Order! I say to the honourable gentleman, give me the seat. I will not tolerate such behaviour. If you want to go out now, but if you stand again, I will order you out. Make your mind up. Either shut up and get out. I warn the honourable member that if there's protesting carrying out to... Shut up a minute. Does somebody want... Do what wants? Give me the name. Order! Order! Sit down, you want me in the future. I now warn the honourable members that if they persist in refusing to comply with my order to withdraw, I shall be compelled to name both of them, which may lead to them being suspended from the House. Right, names. To ensure that the honourable member complies. Can it? What's the names? I order! Shut it. Shh. Neil Hamby, I am now naming you and Kenny McCaskill to leave this chamber. Sergeant, deal with them. Deal with them. Deal with them. Just sit down. Out. No. Sergeant at Arms, escort them out. Get them out, Sergeant. Get them out.
Robin Miller.
Come on.
Insurrection. Just put the PM again.
No, then let's just see if we can... Mr. Costa, you don't want to go and escort them to the tea room, do you? No, I suggest not. I think you're good and better behaved than that. Right, we'll try again after that. Prime Minister will now go to Robin Miller.
Mr. Speaker, from tomorrow, the first instalment of the cost of living payment will start landing in the bank accounts of 8 million households across the country. This is a much-needed £326 cash boost for families and forms part of the 1,200 in direct support that we're giving to the most vulnerable households this year. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure the whole House was appalled and saddened, as I was, to hear about the despicable attack on Shinzo Abe. Our thoughts are with his family and loved ones and the people of Japan at this dark and sad time. Mr. Speaker, this week we remember the genocide in Srebrenica and the victims of those appalling events. We must learn the lessons of history and do all in our power to prevent such a thing happening again. We will continue to combat war crime deniers, both in Bosnia-Herzegovina and elsewhere. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Robin Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Prime Minister for his personal interest in Aberconwy, whether he's been eating ice cream on the pier in Llandudno, sampling Welsh Penderyn whisky, or standing on the granite quarry in Penmaen Mawr. He's seen why they love this constituency. He's also heard from them their gratitude for the vaccine and furlough programmes that this UK government delivered. So will my right honourable friend now support our plan to level up Aberconwy and our bid for almost £20 million of funding to invest in community and cultural programmes and give us the opportunity to match our potential?
I thank my honourable friend, and he's a great champion for Aberconwy, and I much enjoyed the Penderyn whisky that we sampled together. Mr. Speaker, I ignored the revolver, as some of you may have noticed. We are committed to uniting and levelling up the UK, and as for the second round of the Levelling Up Fund announcements, it will be coming, Mr. Speaker, this autumn.
We now come to the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, may I join the Prime Minister on his comments about the former Prime Minister of Japan, a deeply shocking moment, and of course his comments about genocide. Mr. Speaker, may I welcome the new Cabinet to their places. We have a new Chancellor who accepted a job from the Prime Minister on Wednesday afternoon and then told him to quit on Thursday morning. A new Northern Ireland Secretary who once asked if you need a passport to get to Derry. And the new Education Secretary, whose junior ministers have literally been giving the middle finger to the public. It is truly the country's loss that they will only be in post for a few weeks. Now, the Prime Minister must be feeling de-mob happy since he was pushed out of office. Finally, he can throw off the shackles, say what he really thinks, and forget about following the rules. So, does he agree? Does he agree it's time to scrap the absurd non-dom status that allows the super-rich to dodge tax in this country?
Prime Minister,
Well, I thank you very much, and it's perfectly true that I'm grateful for the ability to speak my mind. I never really lost, Mr. Speaker, but what I'm focusing on is continuing the government of the country. And as I've just told you, Mr. Speaker, from tomorrow, £326 is arriving. Never mind non-DOMs, Mr. Speaker. DOMs or non-DOMs, I don't mind. £326 is arriving in the bank accounts of 8 million vulnerable people. And how can we do that? Because we took the decisions to get the strong economy that we currently have, that I'm afraid were resisted by growth in May at 0.5%, Mr. Speaker, which they weren't expecting. We have. As I've told you before, Mr. Speaker, 620,000 more people in payroll employment than before the pandemic began. And one of the consolations of leaving office at this particular time, Mr. Speaker, is that vacancies are at an all-time high.
Yes, Starmer.
Cut him some slack. Faced with an uncertain future, a mortgage-sized decorator's bill that'll be soon for somebody else's flat, I'm not surprised he's careful not to upset any future employers. So here's an even simpler one. Does he agree that offshore schemes can pose a risk because some people use them to avoid tax they owe here?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud of the investment that this country attracts from around the world. And he's talking about people from offshore people investing in the UK. I'm absolutely thrilled to see that we've had, I think, 12 billion in tech alone come in the last couple of months. I think it's possible, Mr. Speaker, he's referring not to me, but to some of the 8 brilliant candidates who are currently vying for my job. Let me just tell him that any one of them will wipe the floor with Captain. Wipe the floor.
Can I just say the furniture has to be repaired? And one of the members already had one bill. I'm sure he doesn't want another. Prime Minister.
Any one of them would wipe the floor with Captain Crasharooni's snooze fest, Mr. Speaker. And after a few weeks' time, that is exactly what they will do. They will unite around the winner and do just that.
Yes, Starmer.
He's been saying all week that he wants revenge on those that have wronged him. Here's an idea, Prime Minister. If he really wants to hit them where it hurts, he should tighten the rules on tax avoidance. But at the very least, does he agree that anyone running to be Prime Minister should declare where they and their families have been domiciled for tax purposes and whether they've ever been a beneficiary of an offshore tax scheme?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, to the best of my knowledge, everybody in this Parliament, everybody in this House pays their full whack of tax in this country, and I think that people should, members across the House should cease this constant vilification of each other. I think people pay their fair share of taxes, and quite right. What we're doing, and it's thanks to the tax yield that we have had, that we're able to support the people of this country in the way that we are. So we've been able to increase universal credit by £1,000, Mr. Speaker. We're putting £326 from tomorrow into the bank accounts of those who need it most, Mr. Speaker. And thanks to the policies we have pursued, as I have just told you, we have unemployment at or near record lows. And that is what counts, Mr. Speaker. No, they are very happy to see people languish on benefits. We believe in getting people into good jobs. And I'm looking for one.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure he's been keeping up with what's happening the last few days. Over the weekend, the candidates to replace him have promised £330 billion in giveaways. That's roughly double the annual budget for the NHS. Sadly, they haven't found time to explain how they're paying for it, even though one of them's the Chancellor and another one was Chancellor until a week ago. They all backed 15 tax rises. Now they're acting as if they've just arrived from the moon, saying it should never have happened. Doesn't he agree that rather than desperately rewriting history, they should at least explain exactly where they're getting all this cash from?
Prime Minister. Actually, Mr. Speaker, he's completely wrong. I've been listening very carefully, and all the commitments that I'm listening to are very clear. We will continue. Whoever is elected will continue to put more police out on the street, exactly as we promised. Already at 13,576, we're going to go up to 20,000. Whoever takes over will build. They always complain about this, but we will build the 40 new hospitals, Mr. Speaker. And I asked my delivery unit yesterday. Well, they don't want it. They don't like it, Mr. Speaker, because they voted against the funding. They voted against the funding that makes it possible, Mr. Speaker. And they have also, just in the last period in which he has been in office, made extra commitments of public spending worth £94 billion, which would be thousands of pounds of extra taxation for every family in the country, Mr. Speaker. That's the difference between them and us.
Yes, Starr. Totally deluded to the bitter end. Now, to be fair...
Mr. Alden, I think that's the last time I hear from you today. I think otherwise you might be able to buy a couple of other people cups of tea. Yes,
to be fair to the new Chancellor, he's at least attempted to spell it out. He's promised tens of billions in tax cuts and confirmed he would cut the NHS, the police and school budgets by 20% to fund it. The member for Stratford and Gibraltar is complaining, but he said it on TV. And yesterday he said it's simply not right that families are seeing their bills skyrocket and we do nothing. Was the Chancellor speaking on behalf of the government, Prime Minister, when he promised huge spending cuts and when he said that they're doing nothing on the cost of living crisis?
Prime Minister. Look, Mr. Speaker, this is really pitiful stuff from the party that voted against the £39 billion which is necessary to pay for those 50,000 nurses which we're recruiting, and we will recruit by 2024, Mr. Speaker, which is necessary to pay for those hospitals and those doctors and those scans and that treatment. They don't have a leg to stand on, Mr. Speaker. And I can tell him something else. The reason we've got growth now at 0.5% in May is because we took the tough decisions to come out of lockdown on July the 19th last year, which he said was reckless. Never forget, he said it was reckless. Our economy would not be strong enough now to make the payments we are to our fantastic NHS, and they know it.
Starr, I really am going to miss this weekly nonsense from him. Let's move on. Let's move on from his current Chancellor to his former Chancellor. Last week he resigned, accusing the Prime Minister of not conducting government properly, competently or seriously. He suggested the Prime Minister is not prepared to work hard or take difficult decisions, and implied that the Prime Minister cannot tell the public the truth. Yesterday, he claimed his big plan is to rebuild the economy. Now, even the Prime Minister must be impressed by that Johnsonian brass-neckery. Can the Prime Minister think of any jobs his former Chancellor may have had that means he bears some responsibility for an economy that he now claims is broken?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think everybody who's played a part in the last 3 years has done a remarkable job in helping this country through very difficult times. I just want to say to him, really, Mr. Speaker, the next leader of my party may be elected by acclamation, so it's possible this will be our last confrontation over this. It's possible. So I want to thank him. I want to thank him for the style in which he's conducted himself. I think it'd be fair to say he's been considerably less lethal than many other members of this House. And I'll tell you why that is. Because he hasn't come up
Can I just say to this end of this front bench, I expect better behaviour, and I'm certainly going to get it. Prime Minister.
Yeah. There's a reason for that, Mr. Speaker. Is over 3 years, in spite of every opportunity, he's never really come up with an idea, a plan, or a vision for this country. And I can tell you that at the end of 3 years, Mr. Speaker, we got Brexit done, which he voted against 48 times. We delivered the first vaccine in the world and rolled it out faster than any other European country, which would never possibly listen to him, Mr. Speaker. And we played a decisive role in helping to protect the people of Ukraine from the brutal invasion of Vladimir Putin and helped to save Ukraine, Mr. Speaker. And I'm proud to say that we are continuing, and every one of the 8 candidates will continue, with the biggest ever programme of infrastructure, skills and technology across this country to level up in a way that will benefit the constituents of every member of this House, Mr. Speaker. And it's perfectly true that I leave not at a time of my choosing. And it's absolutely true. But I am proud of the fantastic teamwork that has been involved in all of those projects, both nationally and internationally, Mr. Speaker. And I'm also proud of the leadership that I have given. And I will be leaving, Mr. Speaker, I will be leaving soon with my head held high.
The convicted double child rapist and murderer Colin Pitchfork was granted parole last year by the Independent Parole Board in the face of enormous opposition from whistleblowers and my South Leicestershire constituents. Only 2 months after he was released, he was recalled to prison for having breached his licence conditions. He has another parole board hearing scheduled for September. Prime Minister, you and I have communicated about this matter on numerous occasions, and you've assured me that you would do everything in your power to deal with this situation. Can you confirm, before you leave office, that your government will make all the necessary submissions that it can make lawfully to the Independent Parole Board to make sure that this dangerous man is kept behind bars?
Prime Minister. My honourable friend for his campaign. Our thoughts, of course, with the victims of Pitchfork, Lydia and Dawn's friends and family. And, Mr. Speaker, I can tell the House that my right honourable friend, the Deputy Prime Minister, will be submitting his views on the Pitchfork case to the Parole Board before his hearing, and there is also, as the House will know, a root and branch review of the parole system currently underway, which includes plans for greater ministerial oversight for the most serious offenders, and we'll be bringing that forward as soon as parliamentary time allows.
We now come to the Leader of the SNP, Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I associate myself with the remarks of the Prime Minister in the murder of Shinzo Abe, a dreadful event that took place last weekend? Can I also thank you, Mr. Speaker, for hosting last night the charity remembering Srebrenica? We should all take time this week, on the 27th anniversary of the genocide that took place there, to think of the circumstances and the shame that we were not able to step in and stop the murder of so many innocent boys and men and the rape of so many women, and that we must learn the lessons from that. And of course at this time we think very much of those in Ukraine that are facing a war criminal, and make sure that those responsible are ultimately held to account for crimes against humanity. Mr. Speaker, the Tory leadership contest is quickly descending into a toxic race to the right, and it's clear that whoever wins that race, Scotland loses. The former Chancellor has pledged to govern like Margaret Thatcher. The current Chancellor is threatening 20% cuts to the NHS and public services. And they're all trying to outdo each other on an extreme Brexit, costing the economy billions. Is the real reason that the Prime Minister won't endorse any of these awful candidates because whoever becomes the next Tory leader will make Genghis Khan look like a moderate?
Prime Minister.
I feel a real twinge, Mr. Speaker, that this is probably virtually the last time I'll have the opportunity to answer a question to perhaps because he's going or because I'm going, I don't know. Mr. Speaker, all I would say to him is that I think that the next leader of my party will want to make sure that we do everything we can to work with the Scottish Government in the way that I've been able to do, I'm proud to have done over the last few years, to protect and secure our union. And my strong view, Mr. Speaker, having listened to him very carefully for years and years now, is that we are much, much better together.
Ian Blackford. I can say with all sincerity, I hope whoever is the next Tory leader will be as popular in Scotland as he has been. Because for people in Scotland, Westminster has never looked so out of touch. We've got right-wing Tory contenders prioritising tax cuts for the rich and a zombie UK government failing to tackle the cost of living crisis. Whilst the Tories are busy tearing lumpouts of each other, money-saving expert Martin Lewis has warned the energy price cap could soon rise by a sickening 65% in October to £3,244 a year. After a decade of Tory cuts and Brexit price rises, it will mean many families simply can't afford to put food on the table and heat their homes. Scotland literally can't afford the cost of living with Westminster. Does the Prime Minister not get that people in Scotland don't just want rid of him, they want rid of the whole rotten Westminster system?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I think that's not what is actually happening in this country, is that we're using the fiscal firepower that we built up to cut taxes for working people, cut taxes for those on low incomes, and you saw that last week in the average of £330 tax cut on national insurance. We're increasing support for those vulnerable households from tomorrow, another £326 going in. And Mr. Speaker, it's thanks to our union that we were able to deliver the furlough scheme, which helped the entire country, and to make the massive transfers that boost the whole of the UK economy. And I think that the last thing the people of Scotland need now, and the last thing they need is more constitutional wrangling when we need to fix the economy.
Mary Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After securing almost £14 million in my town's fund bid for Cheadle, I was delighted last week to get the green light for our new Cheadle rail station. And £4 million for our state-of-the-art eco-business park. I've had tremendous support from the Cheadle Towns Board and local community, who understand how important it is to have connected towns and villages, bringing investment and high-tech jobs to our area. I'm ambitious for Cheadle, and now want to secure the redoubling of the Mid-Cheshire Line and the extension of Metrolink through my constituency. Will my right honourable friend join me in thanking the Towns Board and Station Working Group for their support, and agree with me that improving connectivity is key to economic growth and the future of our levelling up the
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's thanks to the massive exertions of this government in levelling up with the £650 billion investment in infrastructure that we're having got a new railway station in Cheadle, for instance, Mr. Speaker. And I know that the bids that my honourable friend has just mentioned are now being actively studied by the Department for Transport, and she should feed in more to them.
Stephen Farrett.
Thank you. In a recent opinion poll conducted by Lucid Talk for Queen's University, only 5% of the people of Northern Ireland expressed any trust whatsoever in this government. So as the Prime Minister prepares to leave office shortly, will he apologise for his legacy in Northern Ireland, in which power sharing has collapsed, the Good Friday Agreement has been undermined, an unwanted protocol bill is being imposed upon the people and businesses of Northern Ireland, and Anglo-Irish relations are in their worst state for 40 years?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, because actually what we've got, and I know that every single one of the candidates will want to deliver this, is a bill to fix the problem of the protocol, and I accept that there is a problem, and I hope that the whole House will support it.
Jacob Young.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and as this is probably the last time I'll get to address the Prime Minister at this dispatch box, can I say on behalf of the people of Redcar and Cleveland how grateful we are for the support that he's given us and for delivering on the will of 17.4 million people in taking us out of the EU. Can I ask the Prime Minister, is he as optimistic as I am about our future as a free and independent nation?
Jacob, I mean, my honourable friend, if anything, I think I'm even more optimistic. And my only anxiety, we all know that people think that this will be. There are people around the world who hope that this will be the end of Brexit, and I can see them all. Oh, look at them! Did you notice? Did you notice? On the front row? That's them. That's them. They're wrong, Mr. Speaker, and we're going to show that they're wrong.
We now come to Martin Day.
Mr. Speaker, if the UK truly is a voluntary union of equal nations, there must be a democratic way for any of those member nations to withdraw from it. On what right does the PM think the role of the UK government is to decide whether to respect the mandate given by the people of Scotland to their government and endorsed by their Parliament?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as I continually advise the members of the Scottish National Party, or Nationalist Party I should say, they should look at what is happening in educational standards in Scotland, which they are responsible for, instead of endlessly asking for a repeat of a constitutional event that we had in 2014. We had a vote, Mr. Speaker, they lost.
Catherine Fletcher.
The Prime Minister knows how proud we are of our industrial heritage in the north of England and what it means for our future. So last Friday it was a joy to be on the banks of the Ribble with the Friends of the Old Tram Bridge, a group that are asking for this historic piece of industrial architecture that crosses the Ribble to be reopened. Vote for the utility, and because we're bloody proud of it. So, does the Prime Minister share my hope that Preston City Council will include the plans to get the bridge reopened as part of their Levelling Up Fund bid?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think it's possibly fair to say that I'm responsible for building more river crossings than anybody else in this House, including and bridges, including Suggett's Lane crossing, Mr. Speaker, which I delivered for my honourable friend. I think at this stage in my political career, I could not, in all honesty, promise that I can deliver this bridge, Mr. Speaker. But I think that she has 8 people to whom she could direct that request right now, and she's in a strong bargaining position.
Let's have a Robert.
Child poverty has increased in every part of Wales in the last 7 years under Tory cuts to public services and malign welfare policies. In the communities I represent, 37% of children are now growing up in poverty. He has one last chance to make a real difference to these children's lives before he leaves office. Will he scrap the 2-child limit and reinstate the £20 uplift for all families entitled to welfare?
Mr. Speaker, of course, the Labour government in Wales is responsible for schools, but what we have been doing, is not only increasing the living wage by £1,000, providing the financial support, the £37 billion worth of financial support that I've mentioned, but helping councils, Mr. Speaker, with a £1.5 billion household support fund to get the families such as those she mentions through the tough times, and we will come out very strongly the other side.
We now come to a closed question to Mike Penning.
Number 8, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
I thank my honourable friend. I'm delighted that there will be a new hospital scheme in this area. I'm told that the local hospital trust have considered a full range of options, and that they consider that new hospital builds at Watford General, alongside further investment at Hemel Hempstead and St Albans hospitals, represent the best option for health services in the area.
Sir Mike Penning.
Can I thank the Prime Minister for delivering Brexit and the fantastic vaccine rollout programme that I was proud to be involved with and saved so many lives in my constituency and around the country. Sadly, the Trust have not considered all options, and in my constituents will be astonished as to what they have said by saying that they now want £1.2 billion for the refurbished tower block situation in Watford. So could the Prime Minister do me a great favour before he leaves? Can he put a little note in the drawer of number 10, so when the new incumbent comes in to say Penning needs a new hospital on a greenfield site?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I can tell him that I will ensure he gets a meeting with the relevant minister to discuss his proposals.
John Trickett.
Thank you, sir. We now know that every ambulance service in the whole country is in a critical state. But last week, well before the current national heatwave emergency, my constituent, Mrs. Meacham, died following waiting for hours for an ambulance in an excruciating and prolonged delay. Her daughter tells me that the family tragedy wasn't caused by the staff, but by cutbacks by this government. But in any event, without immediate and drastic action, we cannot be sure that there won't be many more Mrs. Meachams. Does the PM accept we now are living through an emergency health crisis? And given the disastrous state he's leaving the NHS in, why is he still in Downing Street?
Mr. Speaker, the NHS now has a record. He talks about staffing levels. The NHS now has a record number of people working in it. 10,900 more nurses this year than there were last year. 6,000 more doctors. And on ambulances, and he's right, it's absolutely critical. The crucial thing is to help the hospital staff to move patients through the system. And too often, I'm afraid, it is impossible because a proportion of the patients, sadly, are in delayed discharge, and that is making life very, very difficult for the ambulances as they come up to hospital. But that is why it is so crucial that this government, in addition to everything else we've done, Mr. Speaker, is fixing social care and helping patients out of hospital. And that's why we put in the £39 billion, Mr. Speaker, which unfortunately his party voted against.
Brereton. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Prime Minister for all he's done to help level up Stoke-on-Trent? The number of workless households in our city has halved over the last decade of Conservatives in government. So would my right honourable friend agree that the best way to level up Stoke-on-Trent is to get more people in well-skilled, better-paid employment opportunities?
I think he's absolutely right, and the right honourable gentleman knows a lot more about Stoke Newington than he knows about Stoke, and that is absolutely true, Mr. Speaker. And I'm proud that we're getting young people into work. I was up and down the country. I was at an event last night to celebrate the 163,000 Kickstarters who we've helped into work, and that is our ambition, to help people into good jobs, and we are succeeding. I'm proud to say I leave office, Mr. Speaker, with unemployment at roughly 3.8%. When they last left office, it was at 8%. That's the difference between them and us.
Stuart Malcolm MacDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last night's panorama with the joint investigation with the Times newspaper has exposed yet again more evidence of unlawful killings by special forces, this time in Afghanistan. When this came up before, the government, and in particular the MOD, was determined to sweep this under the carpet. But those who serve in uniform and the public they protect deserve better than this. These aren't vexatious claims from campaigning lawyers. They come from within the armed forces themselves, and indeed from our allies in Australia. So will the Prime Minister commit to an Australia-style independent inquiry as backed by General Lord Richards? But more broadly, hasn't the case been made again for democratic oversight of special forces?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's a long-standing practice, I think, accepted on both sides of this House, that we do not comment on special forces. That does not mean that we in any way accept the factual accuracy of the claims to which he is alluded. On the other hand, Mr. Speaker, nor does it mean that anybody who serves in Her Majesty's Armed Forces is above the law.
Can I just warn other members that there is a sub judice on this? I allowed that question because it was very general, and that's the only way I would ever allow it to be discussed. Andrew Lower.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the last few years, campaigning and persistence have led to the construction of a new children's A&E and just this year a new main A&E for Northampton General Hospital in my constituency. Building on this success, what the town now needs is an urgent treatment centre. Does the Prime Minister agree that this would be a hugely welcome step in providing top-quality healthcare in Northampton?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned, I think earlier on, we're engaged in a massive programme of improvements and building and rebuilding in our NHS estate. I think that, with great respect to my honourable friend, this is a decision that he's going to have to continue to lobby for. I think the local NHS bodies will have to make up their minds on that one, but I'm sure he will continue to make lively representations.
Patricia Gibson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, the Prime Minister was forced to announce his intention to resign after ministers who supported him only days earlier changed their minds. Of course, people are allowed to change their minds, and this should be recognised. Why does the Prime Minister and his MPs believe this principle applies everywhere except in Scotland, where the people delivered a clear mandate to the Scottish Parliament to hold an independence referendum?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, as I understand it, the people of the SNP are currently deciding what to do with my honourable friend. And heaven forfend that they should change their minds, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, 40 years ago, 10 young people from Rugby's West Indian community travelled to a house in New Cross Road, London, for a birthday celebration for former Rugby resident Yvonne Ruddick. Tragically, there was a fire at the house where the party was held, and 2 of that group never returned home. Others were traumatised. The fire cost 13 people their lives and has been the subject of 2 inquests, both of which were inconclusive. Those who survived and the families of the bereaved are calling for a further investigation. I wonder if the Prime Minister would agree that the appointment of the new Metropolitan Police Commissioner provides an opportunity to re-examine the events of that time.
Prime Minister.
I thank my honourable friend, and I know from my own experience of running the city of the anguish that particular tragedy caused, and I know the deep feeling that surrounds it, Mr. Speaker. I thank him for raising it, and I can tell him, of course, that whatever my own views, this is a matter for the Independent Metropolitan Police Service, and I'm sure the new Commissioner will be considering what he has just said.
Alan Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. While he was editor of The Spectator, he published a poem about exterminating the Scotch, a verminous race. He previously stated that a pound spent in Croydon is of more value to the country than a pound spent in Strathclyde. He called for an ending of the Barnett formula, and he stated an MP from a Scottish constituency shouldn't be a Prime Minister. So given his anti-Scottish views, his abject failure as a Prime Minister, why did he think he's a right to try and block a democratic vote for Scotland to choose its future away from this corrupt Westminster?
Can I just say to the honourable gentleman that after 3 years of listening to this delirium of monotony from the Scottish nationalists, I really think they need to change the record. What the people of this country want is a focus on the cost of living, a focus on the economy, and making sure on schools, Mr. Speaker, on standards in schools. Those are things that he should fix, Mr. Speaker, and to say nothing of the tragedy of drug deaths in Scotland, Mr. Speaker, which they still haven't done anything to address, Mr. Speaker, and everything I have seen has taught me that we are far, far better, whether it's on Ukraine or COVID, Mr. Speaker, or on furlough. There is absolutely no doubt, Mr. Speaker, that we are better off working together.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Kensington is at the heart of the Ukrainian community, and on their behalf I would like to first send their huge thanks for your support to Ukraine. Yesterday was the first-year anniversary of the devastating flooding that affected my constituency, with more than 1,000 homes affected, people in basement flats losing all of their belongings, and many people still in temporary accommodation. Would my right honourable friend back my fight to ensure that we get serious investment in infrastructure in West London from Thames Water?
Prime Minister.
I thank her very much, and I know that I know the problem that she speaks of very well. There's no single solution to tackling surface water flooding. But she's absolutely right in wanting to put more pressure on Thames Water to try to come up with sustainable solutions. But they've got to be done working with partners, with councils, and of course with developers as well.
Final question, Sam Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A few short weeks ago, Zara Alina was walking home through Ilford. She was dragged off the street and brutally murdered. Zara's family made a touching tribute for her life. She was authentic, refused to try and impress anyone, but she impressed us. She was the rock of our family. Last week, on the 8th of July, another woman was stabbed in St John's Road, just yards from my family's church that I attended for 15 years, so I know like the back of my hand. Women in Ilford should not have to police themselves or impose curfews on their behaviour when they want to just go about their daily business. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to know whether the Prime Minister will commit to greater allocation of funding in terms of policing that's targeted on specialist knife crime into Ilford and across all of that part of North East London.